What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Spring Hills Podcast and to another episode of One-on-One, where we interview different Spring Hills staff and team members to find out a little bit more about their stories, their testimony, their family life, their upbringing, how they got into ministry, and of course, what their role here is at Spring Hills. And today I'm very excited because we have a special guest, and that special guest is our next gen pastor, Jon Knapp. And if I sound excited for this interview, it's because I am. Jon and I hail from the same area code, the 209, which is the country. We both say howdy. We both say y'all. Actually, I don't think I've ever heard Jon say howdy or y'all, so that's probably just me. But we are both from the country, and we like it that way. And yes, that is a country song reference that likely only Jon and I understand. So check this interview out with Pastor Jon Knapp. Welcome, everybody. We are here with Jon Knapp in the green room.
Hey, everybody.
And we're going to talk to him about his family life and where he grew up, things like that, which, fun fact, Jon and I are from the same, maybe not the same county, same area.
Same area.
From
Central
the Central
Valley.
Valley, so the 209ers, which actually Brennan was just in here recording the worship one, and Brennan's a 209 guy.
Yeah, is he from Tracy or something? Or?
He's from Tracy, yeah. So a lot of 209ers up here in Santa Rosa. So Jon, let's start out with this, just for those that maybe can't put a face to your name right now.
Yeah.
Who are you? How would they know you here at Spring Hills?
Yeah.
And what's your role here?
I'm the guy with the red beard that will walk around. I've got 4 kids that you'll often see kind of running around with me and me trying to figure out where they are. But I work specifically with the Next Generation Ministry. And so what that looks like on the weekends is I'll hang out at this thing we call Student Connect next to the Welcome Center. We've got a student section during the services where the students hang out and go to church together. So I'll be over there. You'll often find me giving announcements and sharing. On occasion, I'll give a message. Not too tall compared to Garett Elliott, but who really is.
Not to be confused with the other redhead on staff, Jason,
yes.
who is 6'6" or 6'7". He's tall.
Yeah.
You're kind of all over the place. You know, we had Garrett Ward was here last week, and the joke I made was to find out what Garrett does on campus, and spoiler alert, it's pretty much everything.
Everything.
Jon is a little bit in that realm too. Jon's all over the place. He's working through the next gen stuff, and then also you'll find him working on a lot of the video projects that we've got on campus. So all the stuff that you see live streamed and recorded, things like that, Jon was extremely instrumental in getting that set up, organizing the guys to do the wiring and all that. So the video project was Jon's, and Jon, you got that all put together pretty quickly. I think it was last Easter, right? It was last Easter. Jon, you got 9 days.
Pretty much,
something like that.
Yeah, build something.
And we had the overflow stuff. So now we're actually able to really record it in a great way to be able to share Brett's messages with you and things like that because of
much better
the
system
team that Jon had. Jon and the team that came down and set it up. So
yeah.
So let's ask this. First of all, where are you from?
I hail from the Central Valley. Merced would be what I would call my hometown. Born in Clovis, California.
Oh, a little more south.
Little more south.
Good school district.
Fresno. Yeah, very good at water polo.
I don't know why I know that, but I've heard so many people talk about how good of a school district Clovis is.
Yeah, so born in Clovis. I'm 34 years old. Just had a birthday. I was told I was the only baby born in that hospital on that day.
No way.
Yeah, but it must have been a small hospital. Must have been. I think I've driven.
It was a home birth.
One time. Yeah, gross. Lived most of my early years, teenage years in Merced, California, and went to a high school there. And
which high school did you go to?
I started out at Atwater High School, and then after my freshman year, a brand new school opened up called Buhack Colony.
Oh, yeah, Buhack. I remember Buhack.
Buhack.
So, yes, I'm from the same general area as Jon. So, those are schools I played basketball against in high school.
Probably smashed us.
You know what?
Maybe not Atwater, but for sure Buhack.
I think I remember very specifically when I was a freshman playing against Atwater, and we lost on a buzzer beater. Or no. The guy on Atwater hit a shot, and we had like 2 seconds, and our point guard missed at the buzzer.
Oh, man.
And he was bawling his eyes out. And I was a little bit like,
it's a game.
it's a game. We're on. It was it was like, I mean, it was the varsity team, so I mean, it was like we're fighting to win the league. I think we ended up like second to last place in the league though, so it was almost kind of like look, man, we would have gone from 5th place to 4th. Like maybe, it just wasn't really a big deal.
I didn't play basketball in high school. I played water polo. I played golf and soccer in high school.
Now golf actually, was it? Were you at Buhack when you played golf?
Yeah.
Didn't you guys have like a really good squad?
Yeah, our last 2 years, thank you for bringing that up, Garrett. The last 2 years, we took the section.
Yeah, okay. So actually, oddly, I remember this because TC had a really good golf team. Obviously, they were a smaller division at that point. I think we were Division 5 at that point. But we had a couple guys that were going full ride scholarships to D1 schools for golf. And they were always talking about Buhack. And I remember driving down to Buhack and picking up a couple of my friends because we were driving down for a basketball recruiting thing.
Oh, yeah?
My senior year, which you would have been out of high school already by this point. But they were talking about how good Buhack's team was.
Yeah.
So, that's weird that I remember that. But I didn't know you were part of that. That's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, what year did you graduate?
05.
05. Well, yeah, I was 04. So, yeah, it would have been 03, 04 that we did. So 05, although there was this
that would have made sense because that would have been the year I would be going down my junior year. That makes sense.
The team that came after us held it for a while.
Oh, okay.
There were a couple of really good golfers, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I never got into golf. I moved here and Brett and Matt Anderson both said they were going to get me into it, and not yet. Hasn't happened.
Not yet.
I'm not good at it. I don't like doing things I'm not good at. So
there you go.
I got to get Matt to teach me first. So we've got a lot of kind of some odd coincidental ties from where, being in the same place. But we also have this mutual friend. His name is John Flanagan, also known as Flanders. I believe we met at were you part of?
Yes, I was.
What was it?
Unsung
Heroes. Okay.
Unsung Hero.
So we've got this friend. His name's John Flanagan, and I'm gonna force him to listen to this.
Yes.
And he was the drummer in this band, Unsung Heroes, and
Hero.
Sorry.
Unsung Hero. If
Unsung
John Flanagan's listening to this and he doesn't hear me correct,
he'll be mad. So Unsung Hero, and I became really good friends with Flanagan. I'll call his name. We call him Flanders. Or Flan. I call him Flan all the time.
Flan.
So I became really good friends with him my junior year. He had just graduated, so you would have been a senior, and got to know him really well. And then I think I met you once or twice through that.
Yeah.
But then we sat next to each other at Flan's wedding.
His wedding.
And that's when I found out that you were from Stockton. But when I interviewed here at Spring Hills, I came in on my second interview, and Brett had asked me how long of a drive it was from Stockton, and I was like, I'm not from Stockton. And he's like, oh yeah, we're interviewing a youth pastor from Stockton. Well, actually, he just pulled his name out of the hat for some other reasons. I'm not real sure why. Do you know anybody from Stockton? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Jon Knapp. I'm like, oh, I do know Jon Knapp. So it was like, I think it was, I had lunch with Brett, and then I went back to the hotel, and I'd called Flan, and I was like, hey, Jon Knapp, he's a youth pastor in Stockton, right? This is the same guy? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, he was going to be interviewing at the same church I'm interviewing at in Santa Rosa. And then they said he pulled out of it. Now, is this true? Flan texted you and said, hey, Spring Hills and Santa Rosa, huh?
Yes, I very, very clearly remember getting this text message and like freaking out because I was like, how in the world did
this get out?
No, yeah. How does he know? Like, he lives in Gustine of all places.
Right.
And it's like, what in the world? You've got eyes and ears everywhere, man.
So then I had found out that you weren't gonna. I told him, I was like, oh yeah, he said he wasn't gonna interview here anymore anyway. But I told him, tell John to come check this place out though. Yeah. This place is awesome. And then I think it was either it was a couple nights later or the next night or whatever. You and Lauren called me and Caitlin.
Yeah.
And we had just accepted the job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was the next weekend or 2 weeks after that, you guys came up and visited, right?
Yeah, we did.
So basically, where I'm getting it with this is that I can take credit for
you can absolutely, dude,
for getting you here,
Shock it up.
and telling you, hey, at least come check it out. Come check it out. It's not bad. But no, it's such a coincidence to me that we ended up, and then also like you brought Dan Navarra up here, from Turlock, who I know fairly well, not as well as you do, I don't think, but just some ties, interesting coincidences in our.
When you serve in the local church, whether it's in a city that's 10 minutes away or even 10 hours away, there's just this network that you kind of begin to develop, and you start having this group of friends, and you remember names, and eventually one thing kind of leads to another, and you get older and you continue at it, and you've got people that you know in different states.
All over the place.
Yeah,
Huh? Actually, when I interviewed, before I even was here the first time, I said I was talking to one of my friend's dads, and I said, yeah, I'm going to go interview at this church in Santa Rosa, Spring Hills Church. And he goes, oh, is that Brett Avlikiotis' church? I'm like, yeah. How do you know that? And he goes, I went to seminary with him. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
The dude the guy that did the marriage conference, Brad.
Yes,
I actually had him for a class in seminary at Western. He was like, yeah, he did a 1-day thing that I went to, and or a weekend thing, and yeah, it's like kind of weird.
That's awesome. It is crazy how things do overlap and stuff.
Very
like
helpful when you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy, and it's like, oh, good. Are they cool? They good?
Yeah,
you know, in a good way.
Yeah, that's always the question.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family dynamic, where you grew up and you're in Merced, and so siblings, extended family, parents. What was the
totally.
dynamic that you had?
Yeah, so grew up or born in Clovis, then was living in that area for a little bit of time, and then at 2 years old, my parents split. So early on in my life, we had kind of mom's place and dad's place, and so I don't really remember what it was like to kind of be at home with both biological parents, if you will. My mom moved to Merced, and we lived there. And every other weekend, I'd go visit my dad in Fresno. And so, we'd go visit, and it was, something me and my brother. So I've got a brother who, same mom, same dad. His name's Matt. He's actually a youth pastor in Washington.
Okay.
And then
State?
Yeah, Washington State. Gig Harbor, Washington. It's a beautiful place.
Cool.
He's been up there for a while now. And then when my mom remarried, she married a guy named Rod, which oddly enough, my dad and this guy, Rod, my stepdad, actually played on the same football team in high school.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so they knew each other.
Another coincidence.
Yeah. And then when they got married, I got two stepsisters and a stepbrother. And then shortly after, we had a little baby, a half brother.
Wait, how old were you when you?
Gosh,
your family's.
I was probably 10, 8.
Okay, so you've got your little brother is significantly younger.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He's significantly younger. He's a little baby. He was born in like 98 or 95 or something like that. I don't remember.
Wow.
So
98 or 95.
I don't remember. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, he's born early
yeah,
90s or late 90s. One or the other.
But growing up, because I spent most of my time in Merced with my mom and stepdad, we were a family of 8.
Okay.
So big family, 6 kids, 2 parents, and my mom's a librarian, or she was a teacher, then went librarian at a school called McSwain.
Okay, I hadn't heard of that one.
Country school, and so
now you say big family, but Garrett Ward holds the
yeah, for sure. So no, big
takes
family.
the cake on this one.
Yeah, not as big as Garrett
But
Ward.
family of 8, you're not far off.
Family of 8, yeah. So I mean, we fill up a van, like a regular size van, not a 15 or 12 passenger like the Wards would. But yeah, so it was a big family. And then my grandparents, one set lived in Merced that I went over to often, my dad's side. And then my mom's side, they lived in a little city called El Nido, which is out Highway 59 off of Highway 99 and, what is that freeway? 156 maybe that goes through Gilroy.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of runs parallel.
Where James Dean died.
Yeah, where James Dean died.
The car accident, yeah.
So, it's just a little tiny farming town. I've got some, what else?
What kind of sports were you into?
Sports.
Besides golf. You said you already mentioned a couple, but let's go back to when you were a kid. Little League, baseball. Did you do any of that stuff like youth soccer and all that?
Oh yeah, I did. I played everything.
And were you close with your siblings? Close enough to play sports with them?
Yeah. So my stepbrother is just a year younger than me. Okay. And my stepsisters, one is a year older than me, the other one's 3 years older than me. So
were you guys all in high school at the same time?
There was a time where they were seniors and we were freshmen. Yeah.
Wow.
That's 4 people.
So 4 and 1.
And get this, because where we lived and the new schools and the districts and everything, we had 2 at Atwater High. So my brother and my older sister there, or oldest sister.
Oh, and then Buhack was only freshman, sophomore.
Yeah, because I was actually the first graduating class from Buhack.
Okay.
And so then I was at Buhack, and then my sister Laura was just having some problems like most people do in high school with friends and different things, and she went to Merced High. So
3 different high schools.
In 2001, we were all going to 3 different high schools.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had Turlock High School was the I believe it was the 3rd largest high school in the state that year. And that's when, because the next year was the year that that Pittman High School
that's right,
opened up, and I was supposed to be part of the first graduating class there, but then I switched over to a private school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was these towns. Central Valley grew like crazy, and new schools opening, and
so I played water polo, which was a sport that I didn't even know existed until I got to high school. No, I played it in high school.
Oh, in high school.
So it was actually a sport my older brother and sister played, and they got into it. And my stepdad started getting into it, and he coached for the high school, and it just became like a rite of passage for our family. Almost every single. I think.
Were you good at it?
I wasn't bad, but I wasn't like phenomenal.
Did you shave your legs?
I did not. No, I had to stop for a second and double take that.
I loved how long it took you to answer that question.
Well, when you said shave, like when I was in high school, I actually had about as much facial hair as I have now. It's kind of weird. And one of the guys that I used to play competitive with, because during the summertime we'd play competitive water polo at the junior college, he would tell me like a day or two before a game, shave your face, like baby bottom.
Aerodynamics.
But he said for the purpose that in 2 days it'll come back as stubble and it'll feel like sandpaper if you rub it on a dude's back.
Oh,
because if you know anything about water
that.
polo,
I don't.
It is scrappy, dude. Underneath the water, you've got punching and grabbing and kicking, and I mean they check.
So wait, is all of that legal?
No, it's not.
But they just can't.
I mean, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever watch the Olympics, they have an underwater camera that you can kind of see. That I think it's got to a point in time where they have to actually use that at times because a dude will come out with big huge red mark, and
I'm surprised that this is still a sport like it's not something that got like outlawed at high schools because it could just go so wrong in so many ways.
And there's rivalries just like any other, like in football, but there's rivalries if you have got two good water polo teams, like it's like a show to see. Like people show up, buy tickets, get all excited about it. Like there's this school, Golden Valley.
Yeah, was
another school that Atwater.
The CCC
was a big. Yep, the Central California Conference. Yeah, the CCC. So, I remember one night, I went and watched because I didn't go to Atwater, but I went and watched Atwater play Golden Valley. It was a big game. They were both in first place. It was a big deal, and there were a lot of fouling and people you can get kicked out. Like you get kicked out, so you go to the corner. It's kind of funny. You can kind of get sit in the corner for like, a minute or two, and then you come back in. But if you get kicked out like 2 or 3 times, you actually get rolled, which means you're out for the whole entire game and then the next game. And so that's like
when you say you get kicked out, you're it's like at the penalty box.
Yeah, you go sit in the corner.
You're kicked out of the game right away.
No, you just go sit in the corner and you're down a guy. It's kind of like power play for hockey.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have to
that's and then the time runs out and you jump back out there.
Right, exactly.
That's crazy. Because I know nothing. Are you treading water the entire time?
You're treading water the entire time. Most pools will be deep end only. But like some are, shallow end and deep end, and if you're caught standing on the shallow end, it's a turnover.
Oh, okay. So that's how they make it to where it's. I was going to say if you've got a shallow end, it's easier for that.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious too because when you jump to like catch a ball or like
you jump significantly higher.
You jump
jumping
significantly
off the ground.
Yeah, if you're seeing like belly button or whatever for the males, it's kind of crazy. So.
What about so you're obviously had a lot of sports experience.
Yeah.
What about like anything with the arts, music, drama?
I never did any like
debate.
No, I didn't do debate. I didn't do any like acting or drama or poetry or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
But I did play clarinet in junior high.
Okay.
And then when I was 16, I picked up the guitar and started playing guitar, and I'm decent at it.
And you've got a couple different. You play bass for us every now and then too. You're playing this weekend, everybody.
Playing this weekend, yeah.
Or depending on when this episode comes out, maybe it was last
July
weekend.
4th. Playing July 4th.
July 4th and 5th. Yeah. Cool, man. Okay, so what kind of kid would you describe yourself as? So you have an interesting dynamic that similar to when I was talking to Garett Ward. There's that dynamic that typically is like you've got the firstborn, you've got the middle child, and then the baby, the kind of the stereotypical personalities, right? With being that you have a mixed family with step siblings and a half brother, right?
Exactly.
And a significantly younger half brother. What was the personalities like? What kind of kid were you?
I was the kid that I think all my siblings didn't like very much, just because I tended to kind of get what I wanted, or I was kind of giving it easy sometimes. My brother always said I was my mom's favorite, and I feel bad now kind of thinking back on it. But I mean,
because you were,
I mean,
or what?
I mean, I probably was, but I don't know. There's just something about me that I really
you get what you want.
I got what I wanted, and it was. I don't know if that's the good thing for me, but I would kind of characterize myself as a kid who really kind of put himself out there on just about anything and everything. I love to do everything and anything I can.
Pretty outgoing then.
Pretty outgoing. I had a lot of friends. I'm painting this picture of myself now that I'm thinking about it as a
John was the homecoming king.
I actually was. I actually, no, prom king. Prom king. But like I guess I guess I was just maybe blessed in a way to have a personality that I was very extroverted, and I really liked to greet and meet new people. And so like I go to baseball games, at Candlestick Park or 3Com Park or whatever park it is now. And
it's Pac Bell now, right?
No,
it's Oracle.
It was AT&T. Now it's Oracle Park. Yeah. And meet new people and hang out with them. My mom always said I was like the most outgoing and friendly of the bunch.
Yeah. Did you do any kind of like what's it called? School politics, like class president or anything like that?
Yeah. I was. I wasn't a class, but I did the ASB. So
ASB, that's what it was.
I was treasurer and then vice president.
Okay, cool.
For just the ASB, and I actually liked being the vice president because you got to do a lot more stuff. The president really didn't do a whole lot. Didn't make a lot of decisions. It was kind of it was the vice president actually that did a lot. And so I knew that, and I wanted to run for vice president.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What about church? Did you grow up in church?
I did. My mom brought my brother and I to church all the time. It was a big part of our growing up. My grandma, who on my dad's side, so my dad's mom, was a big resource and support for my mom, despite that they had split. And so, my grandma went to this little Presbyterian church in Merced and invited my mom to come, and we'd go, and, it was nice because my mom's a single mother it'd be nice to go to church and, get the meals.
What church was this?
It's Central Presbyterian Church.
In Merced.
Okay. Yeah. And
you do Awana and all that?
I didn't do Awana. No, there wasn't an Awana. For a short time, my neighbor down the street, we did this thing called Royal Rangers. You ever heard of that?
I don't know what that is.
It's an interesting world of like Boy Scouts mixed with Awanas. It's
kind of like the one they do here?
Kinda, yeah.
Trail Life?
Yeah, maybe it would be like Trail Life, because there's like Boy Scout like uniforms and patches and,
so you can build fire
and stuff. I think so.
So we're going to get you on Survivor.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, get me on Survivor.
John Sapiente is the other one that we're trying to get on Survivor. I think he'd do well.
I think he would do fantastic.
So, tell us about when you became a Christian. You grew up in church. When did you really understand what it meant to be a Christian and have a relationship with Christ?
So it was my 6th grade year. Our church, CPC in Merced, Central Presbyterian, we would go every spring to Mount Hermon as like an all-church retreat conference. And I remember 6th grade year.
So with your family?
With my family.
Cool.
We went to Mount Hermon and went down to this little place close to what we called the hollow trees, which were just big, huge redwood trees that were actually decaying, and they were cut down. And so then they hollowed out the stumps, and you could play in it. It was super fun. And there's this building right next to it, and it's been since renovated, but it was just a space for the youth. And we went, and I remember hearing the gospel, and I had heard it 1,000 times, just being in church and being at VBS and stuff. But I heard it in a different way, and there was this gal named Jean Robbins who was a longtime member of the church, family friend of my grandma and my mom, and just I remember her sitting down with me and kind of explaining it a little bit more to me and understanding that, and led me to Christ in that moment. And I remember that was the first time that I really remember, gosh, Jesus died for my sins, and I'm so thankful for that. And my only response can can then be, God, I'm yours, and I thank you for that. So it was my 6th grade year at Mount Hermon, and I'd love to be able to say that, from then on it was, rainbows and sunshine. But
Well, was it?
well, it wasn't sometimes, but, I would say in the same conversation, we do have to know that, like, as a teenager, I work with teens all the time. So part of this whole process is helping teenagers discover their faith for themselves. And although I came to know Christ at 6th grade, it really wasn't like something that I had completely integrated into my life until my junior year in high school. So like 8th grade year and freshman, sophomore year, I could remember really trying to find my way amongst the different friends that I had and the groups.
And you switched schools at that point,
the peer
right?
pressures and stuff. And so, yeah, there was definitely, like, I called myself a Christian, and I went to youth group, and I was a part of the church, and I would volunteer, and I'd go on mission trips and stuff like that. But it was almost more of like a title that I just carried, as opposed to like, this is my identity, and this impacts my decision making. This impacts, what I spend my time on, like really kind of allowing the gospel to rule over your entire life.
Yeah. What would you say was the difference? So you said junior year.
Because I was on a mission trip in Mexico.
Okay, so did you rededicate your life? Did you just...
Yeah, I would say I would say that it was a rededication. It was like a realization that, God, you had never left me. You always remained faithful in my moments of wandering. I recognize that in my selfishness, I've wandered away, and I've tested the waters of this world, if you will, and I am sorry for that, and I recognize a need to repent of that. And God, I want to commit my life to you in a way that I've never before. To say that, I dedicate my life to you, Lord.
Okay.
So that was in Mexico.
Did you get baptized or anything after that, or was that?
I didn't until the next year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but not before that.
No, I not before that. I actually, I didn't get baptized until I was like a senior.
Okay, cool. What did the impact, or what impact did becoming more serious about your faith have on like your dynamic with your friends or your family, or did it?
Yeah, no, my parents have always been supportive of my faith, and excited for me. My friends, they knew it about me, but when I came back from that mission trip, and my senior year was much different than my junior year.
Where was the mission trip?
It was in Mexico. Yeah, I was in Mexico.
Sorry, did you already say that?
No, it's fine. Ensenada, Tijuana area, just building homes for families in needs alongside a mission organization. And so, I remember my senior year being much different than my junior year, but that over time, people began to really respect the fact that it wasn't just something that I said, but it was something that I lived out.
You had convictions.
Yeah, I had convictions. And there was also this fine line that I felt like I danced really well through. I had many guys in my life that were older than me, that like my small group leaders, who would encourage me and give me, words of wisdom and help me with, just ways of, understanding how to handle some of the difficulties of high school. And so I think I did a good job of really balancing, this idea of being in the world but not of the world, because I had many friends who, to this day, I still pray for, that are not Christians, and they respect me and they respect my faith, but they make very different decisions than I do based on things.
Yeah. Did you have somebody in your life, a youth pastor or coach or teacher or something, that was that kind of role model to you?
Yeah.
You saw him live that out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Scott Vance is his name. He was my youth pastor in high school, in junior high and high school. And he's actually a senior pastor now in Delaware. So it was
Delaware.
Actually, yeah, of
Delaware,
all places.
one of the states I forget is a state.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Delaware.
But
for all our listeners in Delaware.
Yeah. But he was a huge influence on my life. And my dad was never, ever replaced at all, because he's still involved in my life today. But Scott was, another figure in my life, a fatherly-like figure who spoke into my life in a way that a father would. And it was nice because, there were times where my dad was not, able to be present. And I don't blame him for that. It's just the way things worked out. It's, problem of sin in our world. But at the same time, Scott was there, and he was able to be a guy I could call, I could, reach out to. And he was very supportive of me, and to this day, I mean, we talk still.
Yeah, you said your let me get your brother Matt is a youth pastor?
Yeah.
Or a pastor?
Yeah, he's an associate pastor.
Associate pastor.
Yeah.
So and you guys are 1 year apart?
3.
3 years apart. Okay, so what was the let's go to a little were you guys an encouragement to each other? Were you
to go into ministry or
more just
faith?
in your when you were
Yeah.
a junior and you rededicated your life, was your brother instrumental in like helping you navigate the challenges that come along with it?
Yeah, my brother's a super short person. I'm short, but he's shorter than me. And however, I look up to him. I really do.
Okay.
And I kind of set up.
I
with
say
that.
the same thing about my brother.
I definitely do. And honestly, a big part of why I went into ministry is seeing him go in that way. But my brother is a big part of my faith and a big part of me understanding who God is. And he always had a good way about relating things to me and helping me understand things. And we live in different states, but there are ways in which we stay super connected still. And to this day, I definitely still call him and look up to him and reach out to him and learn from his sermons and learn from the things that we talk about. And
it's amazing to think about the like your brother's in a different state. My brother's not in a different state, but he's 3 or 4 hours away, and you can talk anytime. And it's amazing to look at like even just one generation before us, where it was like cell phones might have just be becoming a thing, or our parents, which it was like landlines and long distance calls, and if you want to stay connected, snail mail, stuff like that. And now it's just amazing that we can just at the touch of a button call your brother in a different state and be like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? And it's it's really cool to be able to do that. We're very fortunate in that way.
Yeah, he just FaceTimed me the other day. We were at Dorn Beach for my birthday, and he just FaceTimed me real fast. I was like, hey, man, what you doing? He's like, oh, before I could even answer, he's like, I hate you. He's like, you're at the beach, aren't you? And I'm
Is
like,
it raining in Washington?
Yeah, it was probably overcast and gloomy.
I had no clue. So I was at the beach that day, too. I had no clue it was your birthday. I never said happy birthday. I'm sorry.
Birthdays aren't one of those things that I just...
I did hear you, when you saw a really fit person walking down the beach, say, guys... That's me at 35.
That's me at 35. There's this big, huge guy.
He was jacked.
Yeah.
He was very...
You could barely see his neck.
Fit. Well, he was on the Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth level.
For sure.
Yeah. So what about your other siblings? You've got... So Matt is... Refresh my memory real quick. He's your brother.
He's my brother. Same parents.
And then you've got... Two stepsisters. One sister she's 3 years older than me. She lives in Merced. She's got 4 kids. You still close with them?
Yeah, we talk. In fact, I mailed her a couple boxes for the Adventure Week thing.
Oh, cool.
So her kids went through it.
That's amazing. That's again another thing that's just so cool. We were able to do that online and include people because I did the same thing with my family. Sent them a couple boxes.
Yeah. She lives in Merced, and then I've got a sister who lives in Baltimore. So she actually went into the military for a short amount of time, and then she got out, and she's now doing things with the dental hygienist world.
Cool.
Yeah, so she's in Baltimore, and she actually just put down roots.
Both older than you, right?
Both older than me. Yep.
And then a younger stepbrother.
He actually now lives in Clovis, which is odd that he would live there, but he met his wife, and they've got a child, and they are living in Clovis, and the cool thing about him is he's actually he's a high-level referee for water polo.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, he's on a short list of referees that get called
college?
College, yeah.
D1? That's
awesome. Big games, yeah.
That's cool.
So
that takes a lot of work.
It does, and his son is young, and so he's been able to kind of do a lot of traveling. I wonder what his life's going to be like in the next couple of years as his son gets older, but... it's a cool little extra steady income,
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, and then baby brother.
Baby brother.
Which his name is?
His name's Ben.
Ben, okay. Did I meet Ben?
You may have. He's come to the church a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I have.
He's a lot taller than me. My stepdad's 6'5".
Okay.
Rod. Rod. And so my 2 younger brothers, my stepbrother and my half brother, they're super tall guys.
Okay.
And Ben is he actually lives in Washington as well, a little bit further away from my brother, but he works at a sweet golf course course called Chambers Bay.
You golf up there with him?
I've never yet, although I've been lobbying him for it.
Oh,
Because,
okay.
I mean, it's a nice course.
Yeah.
I forget what year it was, but one of the major tournaments was
Oh,
held
cool.
at Chambers Bay. It's a beautiful golf course. And so he went to San Jose State, did a cool thing with the hospitality major,
Sweet.
and now he's working at a golf course.
Cool. And what about your
Hospitality.
education? Where did you go to college?
I went to the JC for 2 years, and Merced JC.
Merced JC.
And then while I was there, I actually interned at the church in the youth ministry department.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
I was a junior high intern. So there was a junior high director, and then I was kind of like his Sherpa,
Oh.
if you will. I kind of did whatever he wanted me to do and learned the ropes of ministry for those 2 years. And then I transferred to UC Davis.
Okay.
And-
And you studied?
I studied, well, this is kind of my call into ministry here.
Okay.
So I transferred to Davis as a political science major. I wanted to be a lawyer, of all things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer. I have an uncle who's in L.A., very successful, has his own firm. And when I was in high school, we talked a lot because we go down and visit my dad's sister's husband. And I just was interested in it. And truthfully, I was interested in it because I was like, lawyer, I like golfing. I don't mind fast cars, so let's go down this roll. And I had that on my mind. You know, money was kind of like the motivator for that, and lifestyle. And so I transferred to UC Davis as a political science major. But then, like, less than a month before, I started, because we went down there, we had to like find, apartment and stuff like that. I get down there, and school's about to start, and I'm walking from one side of the campus to the other to go get my books. And I remember having this, like, very clear conversation with the Lord. I mean, it wasn't audible. He didn't talk to me, like, audibly over my shoulder, but just these thoughts and these impressions that were placed on me that took me back to about a month before I left with Scott. Remember the name?
Yeah,
Scott
Vance.
He took me to a Sonic.
Sonic, yes.
Sonics. A Sonic drive-in, and we got these Sonic Blasts, which are like basically McFlurries, but
Right.
way better. And we got an M&M Blast, and we just talked about life, and he was excited for the next chapter of my life. But then he dropped this bomb on me, which he knew I wanted to go into law. He knew I wanted to do that, but then he just kind of said, John, I totally see ministry in you. I totally see a future. You're so good with people. You've got a love for the Lord. You're fun. People are drawn towards you. Like, you could be a huge addition to the church, if you just pray about it, think about it. And I was like, yeah, cool. Thanks for the nice words. It was fun doing the internship, but I think I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward about 3 weeks and walking from one side of the campus to the other and having this conversation with the Lord and just kind of realizing, like, gosh, my calling's into ministry. So I gave my mom a phone call, and I told her about it. I gave my dad a phone call and told him about it, and they're both supportive. And I said, look, I think God's calling me into ministry. What should I do? And they said,
I won't be able to buy you a house, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. Or those nice vacations.
That lawyer money might be a little different.
But I decided I was going to go, undeclare as a political science major and declare as a communications major, which is one of those like catch-all, catch-all things. And I learned a lot of great things about communications and what it's look like. It's not just about public speaking; it's way more than that.
Oh yeah.
And I minored in religious studies.
Oh,
which
cool.
Absolutely means nothing from UC Davis, really. But
you probably understood a lot about some other religions, though, which is...
You did, and you learned a lot about the academic side.
Yeah,
dates, people's names, timeline of history, that kind of stuff is helpful. But I went there and then graduated in 2009 from UC Davis, and then immediately went into full-time ministry in Stockton.
And then you were at that church until here?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was
cool.
there for about 9 years.
Let's go.
9 years.
Where does Lauren fit into this picture?
Yeah, so Lauren and I started dating before I left for UC Davis.
Okay.
So we started.
Where'd
dating.
you meet?
We met in Merced at church.
Okay.
We met at Merced at church, and she was a part of the youth team. So I was a junior high intern, and she was a junior high leader.
Okay.
And so
Were the kids trying to set you guys up? Was it one of those?
Maybe. No, I had my eye on her, man. I
Okay.
did. And so, I mean, it wasn't like it was more of like a.
I remember being the kid being like, "Hey, you're a single teacher.
Yeah.
He's a single teacher.
Yeah, we
you
love
guys
those
should
types
date."
of we love those types of students. It doesn't make it awkward at all. But
Poor
no,
Kath.
we. But yeah, we started dating and then went off to Davis, and then we did long distance for like a year.
What
and
did
a half.
she do while you were at Davis? What was her?
So she went to Stanislaus State.
Oh, okay.
So she's
my neck of the woods.
Yeah, so she graduated in 2006, I believe. No, she graduated in 2005 from Atwater. So she's a year behind me in that way, but she's a year and a half younger than me because she's born in December. I'm born in January.
Okay.
But she went to Stanislaus State and she majored in child development.
Okay.
So she's got a child development degree, and
so actually, Lauren and Caitlin overlap in that then, because Caitlin she minored in child development
at Stanislaus?
At Stanislaus.
So funny.
Now Caitlin's a couple years younger, so I don't know if it actually overlapped. But what year did Lauren graduate college? 09?
No, she was 11, I think. 10? Because she didn't go. It was 10. I think she did 10.
Oh, okay. Caitlin graduated the same year. That's crazy.
Because I graduated, and then we went back to Stockton, and then we got married a few months later, and then she continued to go to Stanislaus.
Okay.
Commuting from Stockton.
So you got married in 2009. Okay.
July 2009, and then I think she must have finished summer 2010.
Okay.
Gosh.
That's when Caitlin graduated.
That's 10 years ago.
Caitlin did go back and do more. I think she went back to finish her minor. She had graduated. She got her bachelor's in. Why am I blanking? When you want to be a teacher?
Liberal arts.
Liberal arts. She got her bachelor's in that, and then went back to do. She thought she was going to be. She worked at a preschool, so she thought she was like she wanted to be a preschool teacher, and so she went back to do child development and all that. So
Lauren always just wanted to be a mom, so she actually wouldn't have finished school if it wasn't for my encouragement. I was like, babe, you need to finish school.
Yeah.
School comes super easy to her, and so she's.
Yeah. What kind of students were you guys? I mean, you're UC Davis. Obviously, you want to be a lawyer. You weren't. Yeah, you weren't a dummy.
No, I wasn't a dummy. I mean, I wasn't the top of my class either, but I was towards the top in terms of just like, scoring well. But it never came easy to me. I do have a good discipline about me to study. My mom and my dad are probably the real reason for that.
Do you enjoy it?
I do.
Like the soaking up of knowledge.
I do. Yeah, I like learning about things. I enjoy the classroom. I enjoy the environment. I went back to get my master's, just a few years later.
In communications?
No, I got it in ministry and leadership through Western Seminary. And so that was actually a 5-year thing because I did it so part-time because I had kids at the time and stuff like that.
And you were working at the church.
And I was working at the church full-time. But yeah, school was kind of one of those things where I enjoyed school a lot. I enjoyed the social scene. I enjoyed the academic scene. I enjoyed the athletic scene. All the above.
Right.
I loved school.
Yeah. Okay. So you and Lauren got married in 2009. You got kids now. I'm not going to try to guess which years these were just because I know how old your kids are. So when you guys had kids, 2001 was Tegan born? 11?
Tegan was 12.
12.
She was born in 2012 because she turned 8 this year. Yeah. So I think it was 25 when we had Tegan. Lauren was 23.
I think she must have been pregnant with Logan when we sat with you guys at John and Natalie's wedding.
It had to have been, yeah.
Was it 2013?
Yeah.
Summer. Yeah, when it was 9 degrees outside.
Hot,
maybe more than that. It was crazy hot.
Yeah, so
that's cool. So let's jump into kind of some specifics here about ministry now. So you kind of already talked about when God was calling you into ministry. Did you show resistance towards it besides when Scott had said, hey, I see ministry in you, and you're like, no, thanks, man, but this is it. Did you show resistance after that time you were on campus and you felt God calling you towards it?
I mean, there were moments where even after changing my degree that I thought, like, is this really where I want to go? And actually, if I hadn't been connected to a church at the time and serving in that church.
In Davis?
In Davis,
okay.
Yeah. University Covenant Church is where I went. And then I also was connected to the First Baptist Church in Davis and served on their college ministry team. But if it wasn't for staying connected to that, I could have probably fallen away from that calling in a sense of like in that moment, but I kind of always felt myself being drawn back into ministry and seeing, ministry things being pulled out of me. And even seeing those moments of serving in a volunteer capacity as like ways of training me for full-time ministry. Yeah. So, I never really thought of a different profession after that.
What about within ministry? So you started as a youth pastor.
Yeah.
And so then now you're not just doing the youth here. You're in charge of the Next Gen Ministries, which is preschool all the way through 12th, right?
Yeah. From cradle to college.
Cradle to college. So what do you have? Is your goal ultimately do you want to be a senior pastor at some point? Do you want to?
That's one thing I've never really felt God has clearly said. John, I'm calling you one day, or I see you, John, one day being a senior leader of a church, and I'm cool with that. I would really love to just be a senior pastor's, right hand guy, man. You know what I mean? Serve in a role that would really support and execute the vision that he has for the church, and also
which you kind of do. I mean, you do that here.
Yeah.
You and Garett both are. I mean, Garett's technically the associate pastor, but you kind of play that role along with him, right?
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal to be a part of this team and to be able to speak into that, and the slide over from being just youth pastor to now Next Gen pastor has really stretched me, and in a good way. So there are more things on my mind and on my heart than just the teenagers now here at the church. And so I've been thinking about, what it looks like for transitioning from one ministry to another between kids and, elementary and then preteen and then teenagers.
What was it originally that drew you to youth ministry?
Probably because that was a place for me that really gave an ignition. That's not the right word. Where my
ignition.
Well, my faith was ignited. Wherever that would be. That's really where things took off.
Yeah.
Like where the fire was flamed. The fire was famed, and like there was just this fan the flame of the fire.
I gotcha.
But just like that's where it grew for me.
Yeah,
like, it was such a big part, and like because it was such a big part of I always look forward to going to youth group on Sunday night, 7 p.m. at church. We called it fellowship church, or fellowship like youth group. And it was just so, I always look forward to it every single, I vividly remember like walking out the door, like being so excited one night.
Was that because you got to see your friends? Was it, so this actually, you kind of bring up an interesting topic, because it's changed so much now, because it was when we were growing up, in, the late 90s, early 2000s, junior high and high school group, it was such a social thing. It was the time. It was an extra time midweek that you got to see your friends. Mm-hmm. Now these kids all have cell phones. They can see their friends pretty much anytime they want. They can FaceTime them. They're always talking. We got to do instant messaging on the computer. So it was like we were at the beginning of this like constant just connection with our friends and stuff. So what do you think the biggest difference is as far as like the challenges that are facing youth pastors and youth ministers in reaching the kids and helping them have that same kind of like, ignition, the igniting of the flame.
To have that flame fanned in a way.
Yeah, I mean, because it's very, and especially now, even with the shelter in place, I mean, it's even more different now, just the stuff happening that the kids are going through nowadays, or the resources they have.
Times and culture is just changing a lot faster than it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think about what's happened for us in the last 4 months, and even trends and things that are messages and content and data is now transferred so much faster nowadays that things can change so much easier. And I think that that's one of the biggest difficulties that I think youth pastors and even youth today really have to work through and struggle with, because it's hard to have all these things that these kids are having their attention vied for. There are so many things that these school and sports and those, not that those things have ever been different, but with technology and just the demands of different things, they've all increased. I mean, nothing's regressed in terms of, they have
the entirety of the world's knowledge at their fingertips.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just a crazy thought for a 16-year-old. Like the amount of curiosity that they have or whatever, like these phones, it's
you
changed.
Can Google just about anything.
Anything.
Yeah. And not just about anything, everything.
You can, and like if you're curious, and it's not all true either. So like you're also dealing with what's true, what's not true. What am I looking at that's what message it's saying, and
Yeah,
it just seems so. I was one of the reasons I'm
Yeah.
so curious about this was I was a youth pastor from 2008 to 2014, and I saw the cell phone age of iPhones came out in 2007, I think, and at that point it was like maybe some college students had an iPhone, but for the most part it was like it was too expensive. People were still just on the little, what were those, Razors or whatever?
Yeah.
And then the Motorola's. And then it was like over from 2008 to 2011, it seemed like there was this really big switch where all of a sudden, not just seniors and juniors in high school had cell phones, but now all of a sudden we've got junior hires with iPhones. And they've got the internet right there. And it was like my youth group, it was like I couldn't keep up with it. Like I didn't understand how to keep these kids interested in being at church, because it was all of a sudden, you try to utilize the texting and be like, hey, youth group is tonight at whatever time. But then you're starting to get the question of like, well, who's going to be there? And now you can know who's going to be there before you go. And you're like, I don't want to go tonight. And it was like all of a sudden I had my youth group just started to like dwindle. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, and I think it's very good to also, in the same breath, talk about like the post-Christian, era that we would be in. Like the people who were necessarily the kids who are like teenagers now. I think there's a lot of data that backs up the fact that their parents weren't churched. Not very many of these kids that we have today in youth group or amongst our teenage generation has, parents, at least, in our neck of the woods in California or the West Coast or whatever. I mean, just in general, their parents didn't grow up in church. Right. So you do have to also understand the generational impact of, one youth group generation to the next is highly dependent upon the houses that they grew up in and all that. So, as we go farther and farther into this post-Christian era that we would live in, I mean, it's going to be harder and harder to reach the students, but we continue to do that through the avenues of, preaching the gospel and, providing relational ministry. That's the one thing that we'll always have, that the world can never take away from student ministry, from kids ministry, is the relational aspect, because every single kid, every single teenager on the planet does crave a physical relationship with other people. We live in community, and the Bible talks a lot about that, and for a good reason. And it's true that we need each other, and it might not be something that the students recognize right away, and they're teenagers, they're immature, and they're still learning things. But a lot of them do get it. We have some really solid teenagers here at the church that are trying to dig deeper into their Bible and understand what God is saying, and grow in their faith. And, it's hard for them in the shelter in place, and through a screen, and it can get tiring. And I can't stand Zoom, I
know.
But at the same time, we do what we can. And I think that, we just trust the Lord, and we just know that it's not, as Brett would say, it's not methods, it's not mechanics, it's miracles and how ministry works, And so because of that, we really look to Him for it, and we strategize, we plan, we execute what we think He's leading us to do, and we leave the results up to Him.
Right. Yeah. That makes me just think like, I mean, the gospel spread before cell phones and before internet and all that stuff. And so I feel a little convicted when I'm just like, wait, really? We can't have our people on campus? We have to do this over Zoom or whatever? And I get all whiny, and like, I'm just like, what am I doing, man? Like God, the gospel spread all over the place. And sorry, I got a couple kids.
Probably
gospel
mine.
spread. It was Logan and Addie. The gospel spread all over the place because God can do that. Like it's not us doing it. So when I go, oh no, what are we going to do that we can't meet in person like this? It's like I'm limiting am I questioning what God can do?
Or to, say, kids these days, they don't really care about, they've got all these cell phones and stuff. It's like, you know what? Yeah, they do. But at the same time, they still have a heart and they have a soul, and that needs to be, connected to the Lord. And they're going to recognize that at a certain point in time. And
so we talked about your relationship, your marriage and family a little bit, but Lauren is also on staff here. So she works with the Next Gen team as well. So what's her role with the Next Gen team?
She's an assistant to Eve, who works with the preschoolers. So she does a lot of adminning for Eve, sending out some emails, and then doing crafts and cutting those. And when we were open, setting up the rooms and running the front check-in and things like that.
So this dynamic that, because this technically falls under the Next Gen ministry, so you are the boss above her boss, right?
Yes.
So what's the dynamic like working with your wife in that?
It's fine. I think that it's funny at times. She'll ask me for certain advice on this or that, or she'll say, "What would you do?" or "What do you think?" And it's great, to have her on the team. She's so talented.
It's really fun that this church has multiple couples on staff. Like, it's because I asked Garett the same questions about working with Ashley, and then of course Brett and Eve both on staff, and then with Sean is not technically on staff, but he speaks here and he's very involved, and Jen's on staff, and then my wife serves here and stuff too. So it's like we've got a lot of these couples within. And then Kiki and Matt also. So like it's a lot of, we're all in like our same 5 or 6 year gap too. So it's fun to see a church be able to have couples working together, because it's not always easy. No,
it's not. It's actually really nice to have her be a part of the team in that way, because ministry can sometimes be an all consuming job.
Right.
Some people would be probably surprised to know and learn some of the ebbs and flows of the demands of ministry. And, the seasons of ministry. And right now we're actually not in a season of sheltering in place at all in terms of like ministry, because, there's still a message to go out. And so it all has to come through a screen, in a lot of ways. And we're now on the lawn, but, it's nice to have her here, and it's nice to be around her, and it's nice to have her around the conversation of next gen stuff. And she, like I said, she's super talented, and she's got such a great intuition and wisdom about her that is, able to really, see things that I don't always see, which is great, and she's a great partner, and, she's really good at what she does.
So ministry can be both really rewarding and then also be kind of tough on a family, because it requires sacrifice.
Right.
And sometimes that sacrifice is being made by your family, not you. So what are some challenges that your family's faced, and how can you encourage younger families that are getting into ministry to deal with those challenges?
Right. So some challenges that we faced is, balancing of time, the weekends, when your kids are getting older and their friends are wanting them to hang out on the weekend or do things, or even if you have family that isn't involved in ministry, and they want to meet up on the weekends, it's just a different thing. It's a different way of life. And you've got to just embrace the fact that you've made the decision to go into ministry, and it's a different kind of life that you live. And it's important that if you're in ministry or you want to go into ministry and you're not married yet, that you have that clear conversation with your spouse. Because I remember having that with Lauren. We were very clear, like, hey babe, I am going to go into ministry. Is this something that you're willing to be cool with? And I think setting those expectations early on was really helpful. And we even actually talk about that often. I was like, remember when we were sitting at McDonald's that one day and we were talking about that, and like, this is what we meant. We meant that this is the type of life that we choose. So all that to say is that there are going to be times when you might look crazy to the outside world. And, but the thing is, you get it, your wife gets it, your kids get it as you communicate it to them. But the one thing that I would say, like kind of a little hack that I learned early on when it comes to like family and ministry and balancing, is like, you never want the church to be seen as a place that's taking mom or dad away for the kids, right? So how do you, if you're there a lot, or if there's a season where you're there a lot, and it can easily become that person or that thing in your life, how do you change that? Well, you make the church a fun place for your kids, and it's really very hard to make this place not fun for your kids. But really allowing the ministry to be like a perk in a sense to your family, and so this guy named Doug Fields was at a conference one time. He's a like Godfather, infamous youth pastor guy. And he said he was talking on this, and he was saying that you got to give your kids perks. You got to give your kids these bonus moments at the church to kind of like let them know that like yes, dad's here a lot, but look at these cool things that you get to do because dad's here. And he was talking about one story where he just let his kids like go play in the baptismal, and like swim around and stuff like that. And that's cool, and like for here at Spring Hills, like, I've got kids, and we've got a lot of kids around here. And they have fun. They ride their bikes and they play in the water, and they're
excited to be at
running
church.
around. They're excited to be here. They like coming here, and making it a fun place and giving them perks. Making sure that they feel like they get a little something out of it too. I think is a huge part
like
of
them getting to
softening the
be
blow.
in the Adventure Week games and stuff like that. Such a huge perk for them to be involved in that.
Yeah, they feel like they've got a little investment too, and it's great because you want the church to be a place where they don't look back on and they're like, wow, life would have been better if we weren't always at church. So there's that, and I think that you need to be very open and honest with your spouse and be like, hey, have I been gone too much, or like, how are you doing? I know I've been gone a lot. Giving your wife or your husband veto power over some things, just like that enables them to be a part of the conversation as opposed to just being told what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Is a big part of it too for us, and just also having a ton of humility in the whole journey of it. That if there is some feelings that, like let's say Lauren's just like, hey, I know it's Adventure Week, so I give you a lot of grace. I get it. But after this, we've got to,
figure this out.
We got to connect, we got to be able to, sit down, have a meal, talk and, get back into our regular
It can
flow
start
of
to
things.
feel like you don't know what's going on in the other person's life because you're spending so much more time with other people you're working with. And so I know that this is like with Caitlin and I, it's been a challenge in the past where it's like I'm around, and we'll say Christmas or something. I mean, there's
Christmas,
the big
Easter,
three: Easter,
Adventure
Christmas,
Week.
Adventure Week. Those are like, I mean, we're all here. We're all hands on deck. That's specifically
Those are
Kiki
big
calls them all
weeks,
hands on deck events, right? And the first couple times we did this, it was hard because Caitlin was, the first Easter I was here, Maverick had pneumonia, and she was 8 months pregnant, and so like. We're kind of adjusting to, hey, this is how this is going to be over these weeks, right? And it just became a really good learning experience because we started to learn that the way that we're going to be able to do this is, hey, I know Easter's coming up, so let's really connect
some time
right now,
Yeah.
and let's pay for a babysitter and let's have dinner and let's just talk about whatever you want to talk about and make sure we're on the same page before this starts. Because if it builds up, for the month beforehand, and then you have this week where it's literally like, I mean, you're gone. Adventure Week is like, yeah, we're all here at 6:30 a.m. or whatever. This year was different, obviously, but with
editing till 6 a.m. in the morning.
This year was editing, yeah. And it's just it can be really difficult. It can weigh on the family, it can weigh on the wives that are taking care of the kids, and it's just challenging. So yeah, making sure that you have that time to connect before and after, and prioritizing that time. I know one thing for her with Caitlin with me is when I get home after a long day or whatever, if I just go, hey, I've got the kids, I'll get them, we'll do bath time, I'll do dinner, bath time, bedtime, I'll do all that stuff. And it's just like the amount that she appreciates that.
Totally.
It's so worth it. Like, and it's like, am I tired? Yeah. But I also miss my kids and I want to hang out with them. So what are some personal habits that you can share that have helped you grow in your relationship with God throughout? Because, being in ministry, sometimes your relationship with God can feel like work because you're reading, you're preparing your message and your devotional time becomes work and that kind of stuff. So what are some personal habits that you can share that have helped you grow with your relationship with God?
Yeah. So the spiritual disciplines have been a big part of me growing in my relationship with God. Things like solitude, silence, fasting, Bible memorization. Those types of things have been a big part of my own discipleship, my own understanding. It's interesting. I'd encourage you who are listening to this to take some of those spiritual disciplines, the classic spiritual disciplines, and to bring them into your walk right now with the Lord and see what He does with it. Fasting is one of those things that I never really did until I was probably in my 20s. I did like the 30-hour famine with like youth group and stuff, but that's different. It's kind of a different. But this is like this is a spiritual discipline. So that, and then not talking for a little bit amount of time, and then being alone are some good things for you in your focus on the Lord. Having mini retreats with yourself. these things all ebb and flow with your current place in life, your season that you're in, with kids and stuff like that. But, going to seminary was a big part of me just kind of also learning some of the things that I can do to deepen my understanding of Scripture, doing some things like observations and applications in the Scripture. So what I mean by that is just like in college or in seminary, they taught us how to do some hermeneutical exercises, which hermeneutics is just the study of the Bible. And one of those things was we were given a passage of Scripture, and they would say, okay, it's maybe 3-4 verses, and they said, okay, give us 50 observations from these 4 verses. And so observations could be anything from there are 2 people in these 3 verses. They eat a fish. They're by the water. They're in Galilee, or
it's nighttime.
It's nighttime, or it's brother, sister, or whatever. So and as you wade in those scriptures for that amount of time, trying to find 50 observations, and then the week after okay, new one. Now you're going to find 75 observations. It just causes you to force yourself to kind of think more about it. So just those types of things, really soaking into Scripture and just learning it. And I like to read Bible commentaries as well as like a way of devotional time as well, kind of just learning more and more. So different books of the Bible and having scholars write on it and understanding it more. So, I honestly haven't in a while read like a Christian book, I haven't read a Christian book in a while, but, I've been reading the Bible, and prayer is also
the Bible is a Christian book.
Bible is a Christian book. Yes. So yeah, I would say those things.
Cool. I want to ask you some rapid fire questions here. You can answer them as quick as you want. They're just going to be some things just to get to know you a little bit more, like on a kind of just a surfacey kind of level. So, what are your main hobbies now?
Golf, Pokemon Go.
The kids are super into
with
that.
My son, yeah. Riding some bikes. I recently got some fishing poles for Logan and I, so that's been fun.
I saw he caught a fish.
He did. He
That's
caught a
awesome.
fish. We went out to Riverfront Regional out in Windsor. Beautiful little place.
I bought a couple little tiny fishing poles
Let's
for the
go,
boys.
Man. We should go.
Well, it was a little embarrassing.
Oh no!
Because haven't fished since I was a kid.
Oh
and
gosh!
I had to FaceTime my brother, who's a very avid fisherman,
yeah.
and has caught 60-pound salmon and
that's awesome.
Huge fish.
Yeah.
And he had to walk me through how to line it, and it was embarrassing. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the fishing poles are cheap or what, but it still didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be great if you.
Let's do it. I love the outdoors. I love going to the beach. I love camping. I love hiking and being outside.
Yeah.
Just
and you know what? This area is not bad.
No, it's
that.
not. It's
Turlock and Merced, a little bit harder to be.
Yeah.
113.
You're closer to Yosemite on the one hand, but you are,
It is hot, man. Hotter than hot.
Stinking hot.
Sports teams.
The San Francisco Giants, the 49ers.
I needed you at the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
It was a terrible experience. You were driving home from Hume, right?
I was, yes.
And I got caught in the house at the Anderson household where all of these
bandwagon fanners of...
It was the
Mahomes.
DraftKings. It was DraftKings.
DraftKings.
So they had Mahomes on their team or something, and so they're all rooting for the Chiefs. And so they set up a second littler TV in another room, and I had to go in the other room because I was getting so worked up.
Well, you're pretty competitive.
And I'm not even that big of a Niner fan.
Yeah.
But it was just, my brother's a huge 49er fan. So it's more like I wanted them to win because I know my brother wants them to win. And I remember how bummed he was when they lost in 2012. And so I'm like... Yeah. Thinking they're going to do it. Then when the Chiefs start coming back, I'm just like, I was mad. I had to go in the other room. It was pretty funny. I needed some other Niner fans. Garrett Ward likes to say that he was pulling for the Niners, and I was like, yeah, I didn't hear you, buddy.
Oh,
I
he's a pretty
help.
Niner fan, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So you said you haven't read any Christian books lately, but what is maybe the last book you read? Could you think of one?
The last book I read
besides the Bible?
Besides the Bible, no, I honestly can't. It's very embarrassing. Gosh, the last book I read. I read a book on fatherhood. I can't even remember the name of the guy who wrote it. Now that I come to think of it, but
what about a favorite author? Do you have a favorite author?
Do I have a favorite author? No, I have like a favorite book. I really loved Bob Goff's Love Does book.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you've ever read that one.
I think Caitlin just did.
It's a pretty good book.
And she's listening through another Bob Goff book right now. I couldn't tell you what the title was.
That was a really good book that I enjoyed. I love the books by C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
Some of those Mere Christianity, Screw Tape Letters.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some great books.
Yeah. Great Divorce.
Great Divorce. There's just
Yeah, cool.
C.S. Lewis, good guy.
Really cool to know that him and Tolkien were buddies, and that C.S. Lewis was a big reason why Tolkien finished the story.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I didn't know. Yet literally the other night, someone told me that that C.S. Lewis convinced Tolkien to complete it. The Lord of the Rings story.
Wow. We did talk about a book at staff meeting this last week that I maybe pick up. That gospel book.
Anderson. Paul Anderson.
Paul Washer.
Why did
Paul
I say
Washer.
Anderson?
It's okay.
Oh, the movie director, Paul Thompson. What about favorite kind of food?
Barbecue.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you vote for the barbecue turkey at Thanksgiving?
What did I vote for this last time? I think I voted for the barbecue.
I forget who did the barbecue, but was it? I don't know. Oh no, Scott. Scott did the barbecue.
Yeah, Scott did the barbecue. It was really.
I did too. I voted for the barbecue.
Flavor.
Now that I think about it,
Sean's was way too lemony.
I liked them all. They all did good.
Sean, too much lemon.
They all did well. We'll make sure that we don't advocate too hard for any one of them because we don't know whose team we're going to be on next year. I got pulled into the Scotty team this year to do the
whole other
the
podcast
video.
right there.
A whole nother, yeah. What about a favorite vacation spot or dream vacation spot?
I'll go to my favorite vacation spot. It'd be Santa Cruz.
Okay, that's not that far.
It's not very far because honestly, I grew up every summer that I could remember growing up. We went to Santa Cruz.
So a little bit of nostalgia too.
A little bit of nostalgia, but like the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, Capitola, just like the beach, that vibe, sweatshirts, tank tops, and bonfires on the beach.
Bonfires on the beach. There's not a whole lot that beats it.
No, and you just
unless it's crazy windy.
Boogie boarding, wetsuits, ice cream, deep fried foods.
Have you guys done Hawaii or anything like that?
We did Maui, like when Tegan and Logan were really young. We went to the Alani Hotel, which is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The Disney hotel.
Yeah.
There, for like a big, huge family like retreat thing, and that was cool.
Yeah,
so,
Disney doesn't do anything, just halfway. They go all out.
Yeah, so been to Maui twice.
Cool. All right, you get a day off. You can do anything, anywhere. What is it?
Anything, anywhere. I'd want to go. I want to go play golf at just like a pristine course.
Pebble Beach or something like that.
Pebble Beach, Augusta National, Cypress.
Is there a top of the list of a golf course you go, I have a dream to play there one day?
I mean, I would say I'd want to go to. I would probably say Pebble first.
Okay.
I'd probably say Pebble first, and then, there's some courses overseas that would be super cool to go to. I'd love to go play the course my brother works at too, Chambers Bay. So.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, bucket list item. Anything you want to mark off your bucket list? A place you want to go, a car you want to drive, whatever it is. It can be anything.
It could be anything. I would love to go to a home game of every baseball team. That'd be cool to be able to
a tour across the parks. That'd be like take an RV or something.
Take an RV, it doesn't have to be all in the same season.
Sure.
But to say that you've been to every single ballpark in America.
How many have you been to?
Oh, I don't even know, but quite a bit.
Another fun fact. You and I have both witnessed no-hitters.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Mine was a perfect game, but
I was gonna say I didn't see a perfect game.
Yes, I got to be at the Matt Cain perfect game, and you got to see Jonathan Sanchez.
Yeah.
And wait, were you part of the guys that went to back-to-back games, or was that just Flanders that was at? Because he saw like 17 perfect innings in a row, or no-hitter innings in a row, or something.
I did not.
Which is pretty crazy. And he's not even a Giants fan. Good for you, John. All right, and then let's see. Last thing, dream car, or do you have it?
Dream car. I love my Toyota Tacoma. I love my truck. I really do love my truck.
I want to get a truck one day too.
Love my truck. I've driven a Ferrari.
That's pretty cool.
That was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In Stockton, there was this like group.
I've driven a Dodge Stratus.
Dodge Stratus.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's fast, dude. It's super fast. I don't even remember what model it was, but it was one of the cool looking ones.
I did get to drive a DeLorean.
Oh, wow.
Like the exact model that's in Back to the Future. A guy in Turlock collected old, just collectible cars, and that thing was a piece of garbage. It was.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrible. Stick shift, and I was
four-cylinder.
Glad I knew how to drive it. But it was it was not. I'm also tall, so getting into that,
it's tiny.
The doors open up,
Yeah.
So, well, John, anything else that you want to share with everybody? Interesting facts about you, fun fact that you think, hey, this would be fun for you to know.
Hey, I have had a hole-in-one before. I should have said that. I had a hole-in-one before. It just came to my mind on Father's Day. I forget which year it was, how old I was, but I was in high school.
You were in high school?
I was in high school.
Wow.
Had a hole-in-one on a par 3
Still
course.
talking about it. Oh, how about this? You've got, so is that it? If I said ESPN's playing all-time top 10 plays of Jonathan Knapp's athletic career, is that top one? Is that number one?
It's got to be top, yeah.
What would be number two?
It might be in water polo. We had a big game, and I made the game-winning goal.
You and Garett Ward, man, you guys are clutch apparently. Garett Ward hit a buzzer beater to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Shot a low round in our section tournament one time.
So you've got the Mamba mentality.
Yep. Well, gosh, you're gonna compare me to Kobe, man. That's a big deal.
To one of the 8 greatest basketball players of all time.
Literally, he is. Yeah, but yeah, some baseball ones, some soccer ones. I had a header in soccer one time. That was cool.
Did you flip?
No, I didn't do a flip. That'd be awesome though.
I listened to yesterday. I heard Will Ferrell talking about how he'll ref his kids' soccer games, but he'll be like the sideline or whatever that's called.
Yeah,
and so people don't notice him until like halfway through the first half. They'll start to be like, "Wait, is that Will Ferrell?" And then he's like, then a kid will come over to do a throw in on the side, and he'll like double take at me, and he'll look up, and then he starts pointing to me and looking at his friends, and
that's awesome.
People are like, "What's Will Ferrell doing reffing a youth soccer game?" And he said it's one of the funnest things he does because people are so confused by it.
That's so awesome. Yeah.
But yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming down and doing this. Appreciate it. People will get to know you a little bit more. So don't forget, we've got our services on the lawn again right now. So if you want to come check that out, we've got the tent up. It's really cool. We've got a great setup out there. Are you going to be teaching anytime soon, John?
I'm not sure. Probably pretty soon. I know that we've got one guy coming in a couple weeks, but I'm sure. I was actually going to be speaking at First Wednesday this last week, but it's been a crazy time. So trying to get some students, small groups up off the ground,
cool.
and kind of rally there. So.
Great. Well, thanks for coming down, man. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Thanks so much for joining us on the Spring Hills Podcast. I wanted to remind you that you can join us for church on the lawn this weekend, Saturday night at 5:30, Sunday morning 8:15, 9:30, or 11:15. Or you can join us online at all of those same times. We will have the service streaming live. Or you can check out the service on demand via our YouTube channel anytime you want. And also on that YouTube channel, we have all of our Next Gen Ministries videos. There's stuff on there for preschool, jam-packed 1st through 4th graders, Club 5-6, and student ministries as well. I also wanted to remind you about the brand new segment that we started here on the Spring Hills Podcast last week. It's called Beyond the Stage. Now, that's where we bring in different members of the worship team. We get to know them a little bit more, and then we discuss what it means to be a worshiper both on and off the stage. It's been a lot of fun. We've recorded a few episodes already, but as I said, we did post our first one last week. It's episode number 16 here on the Spring Hills Podcast feed, so check that out and look forward to more in the future. Have a wonderful week. I hope we get to see you this weekend, either on the lawn or online. We'll see you soon.